Have you ever felt the subtle stirrings of life? Those moments when the world seems to bend toward a quiet, unseen purpose, when a face from your past appears in your dreams, or a song triggers memories long buried. It is as if the cosmos is whispering, reminding you that connection is never truly lost. There are signs, faint yet persistent, that the universe is aligning, that a person once significant in your life is being drawn back toward you, even if they themselves have not yet taken a step. The first sign is the awakening of memories. They arrive unbidden, vivid and emotional, like fragments of a story you thought was over. These recollections are not mere nostalgia. They are echoes of unfinished threads in the tapestry of your life. They remind you of lessons learned, wounds healed, and bonds that were never fully severed. The psyche itself stirs, guiding you toward reconciliation, toward a return that is as much spiritual as it is physical. The second sign is the presence of symbols in your daily life. Perhaps a recurring number, a sudden encounter, or a phrase from a book resonates with an uncanny familiarity. These symbols act as signposts, markers placed by the unconscious, indicating that destiny is at work. The universe communicates in patterns, and when you are attuned, you can sense the invisible hand that nudges toward reunion. The third sign is a profound sense of emptiness and longing that cannot be satiated by anything else. This is not mere loneliness, it is the soul's recognition of incompletion. It is a quiet, persistent pull towards something beyond your conscious control. The absence of this person becomes a mirror, reflecting what your deeper self seeks to integrate, reminding you that the universe is orchestrating a convergence. The fourth sign is synchronicity in your relationships. People, events, and circumstances begin to align in ways that feel almost magical. You meet someone who speaks your unspoken thoughts, encounter a situation that brings clarity, or receive unexpected guidance from a stranger. These coincidences are not random, they are the universe's subtle choreography, moving the pieces in preparation for a reunion, even if unseen by your conscious mind. The fifth sign is the sudden rise of intuition. Without knowing how that this person is returning in some form. Your dreams become vivid, your gut instincts unerring. It is as if an inner compass has been activated, guiding you toward the inevitable. You feel it in your body, in the quiet knowing that life's currents are steering you towards something destined, something transformative. The sixth sign is personal growth that mirrors the journey of the other. You begin to see shifts within yourself, as if your soul is evolving to meet theirs again. Old patterns fall away, emotional wounds heal, and clarity emerges from confusion. The universe does not merely bring people together, it prepares the inner ground so that the reunion is meaningful, conscious, and enduring. The seventh sign, perhaps the most profound, is a quiet peace that emerges amidst the uncertainty. You no longer cling or demand, yet a subtle anticipation remains. This is the paradox of alignment, letting go while sensing the inevitability of connection. It is the acceptance that the universe operates on its own rhythm, and that some return are as much about the unfolding of destiny as they are about human action. These signs, when noticed and honored, are invitations to trust in life's mysterious intelligence. They remind us that relationships are never truly lost, and that the universe often moves in ways we cannot yet perceive. Even if the person does not reach out, even if the threads seem frayed, the alignment is in motion. There is a deeper wisdom at work, guiding hearts, opening minds, and bringing souls together in their own perfect timing. The awakening of memories is not merely a recall of past events. It is a stirring within the depths of the psyche, an unconscious summons that beckons the soul to attend to what was left unresolved. These memories emerge like fragments of a dream that cling to the edges of consciousness, elusive yet insistent, carrying with them the weight of emotion, the texture of experience, and the quiet insistence that something within us has remained incomplete. When a person from your past begins to reappear in your inner life, it is often not a simple nostalgic longing, but a signal from a deeper layer of your being, a whisper that the threads of connection are still alive beneath the surface of time and circumstance. These recollections are vivid not merely because they belong to history, but because they represent archetypal energies that have never been fully integrated into your present life. Every laugh remembered, every conversation recalled, every subtle glance or gesture that once seemed insignificant now resonates with new meaning. For the psyche does not remember in linear terms, but in symbolic harmonies that reflect both what was and what may yet be. As these memories surface, they often carry an intensity that can be disorienting, a feeling that the past is pressing into the present, that old emotions are being reactivated not by coincidence but by design. The unconscious mind has a way of orchestrating encounters with the past in order to bring about awareness and transformation. When a person you once knew begins to reappear in your internal landscape, even without any outward action on their part, it is as if the universe is inviting you to revisit the moments that shaped you, to confront the joys and sorrows, the attachments and departures, and to recognize the patterns that have quietly guided your choices and relationships. These memories act as mirrors, reflecting both the parts of yourself that have grown and those that remain unhealed, urging you to engage with the complexity of your own interior life. There is a particular quality to these memories, vibrational resonance, that distinguishes them from ordinary reminiscence. They often arrive unbidden, triggered by the smallest cues: a scent, a melody, a fleeting image in a crowd that seems to have no logical connection to the person themselves, yet carry the unmistakable imprint of their presence. The mind is being guided, the psyche is being stirred, and the heart is being called to recognize the persistence of bonds that transcend time and space. This awakening is not simply about longing for what was lost, but about awakening to the recognition that the soul seeks integration, that the unfinished threads of connection are part of a larger narrative, in which the individual is both participant and witness. As these memories continue to emerge, they begin to reveal patterns and themes that may have been invisible in the moment of experience. You may recall repeated motives, recurrent feelings, or cycles of behavior that shape the interactions with this person. The repetition is meaningful, for the unconscious communicates through patterns, and it is in recognizing these motifs that we come to understand the lessons embedded within our past. Every recollection is a key, every remembered interaction a doorway into the deeper currents of life, inviting reflection and discernment. The awakening of memories is, therefore, both a summons and a guide, directing attention to the areas of life where growth, forgiveness, and understanding are still needed. This process also involves the shadow, the part of the self that has been neglected, denied, or suppressed. Memories of a person returning to consciousness often awaken feelings that were once too painful or too complex to acknowledge, feelings that may have been buried beneath layers of distraction or denial. Anger, regret, longing, or unspoken affection may surface, not as a threat but as an opportunity for inner work. The awakening of memories is thus inseparable from the confrontation with the inner landscape, for it is through this engagement with the full spectrum of emotion and experience that the psyche moves toward wholeness. The memories are not simply about the other person but are reflections of the self, projection, and mirrors that reveal the parts of you that remain unresolved or yearning for completion. Even as these memories stir, they often carry an accompanying sense of inevitability, feeling that the events and encounters they represent are part of a larger unfolding. The mind may resist, questioning the timing or the significance, yet the deeper self recognizes the pattern. There is a rhythm to these recollections, a pulse that beats in harmony with the universe, suggesting that connection is not lost but merely waiting to be acknowledged in its proper season. The return of memories is a signal that the inner world and the outer world are aligned, that the energy which once intertwined with this person are still circulating within the psyche, and may yet manifest in forms that honor both growth and integration. The awakening of memories can also manifest in dreams, in fleeting imaginings, in the quiet moments when the mind is unoccupied yet receptive. In these liminal spaces, the unconscious brings forth imagery and narrative that may not make sense in ordinary waking life but carry profound symbolic significance. A dream, a shared place, a conversation that never happened, or a simple presence felt across distance may be the psyche's way of reconciling past experience with present understanding. These dreams are invitations to pay attention, to recognize the patterns that continue to influence thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and to engage consciously with the process of return. Ultimately, the awakening of memories is not a passive experience but an active engagement with the self and the world. It calls for reflection, for listening, and for discerning the meaning embedded in the recollection. The person whose presence has returned in memory is not merely an object of desire or nostalgia but a mirror of your own evolution. The stirring of these memories signals that the threads of life are weaving themselves into a pattern that honors both the past and the potential for reconnection. It is a reminder that the universe operates through subtle forces, that relationships are never entirely lost, and that the awakening of what was once significant is a harbinger of transformation, insight, and the quiet but profound movements of destiny. Synchronicity and symbols are the subtle language of a universe, the hidden currents that shape events and reveal meaning in ways that are beyond the grasp of ordinary logic. When a person from your past is returning to your life, even without any conscious movement on their part, the universe often communicates through signs, patterns, and coincidences that carry an inner significance. These are not random occurrences, for nothing in the unconscious is without purpose. A sudden encounter with a place or object that reminds you of them, a recurring number or image, a phrase that appears repeatedly in books or conversations, these are all symbolic nudges that the unseen force of life are at work, drawing attention to the threads that connect hearts, guiding them back toward alignment. The presence of such symbols is rarely literal. It is metaphorical, poetic, and deeply archetypal. A song that echoes a shared memory, a color that seems to follow your attention, an unexpected meeting that feels laden with meaning. The moments are manifestations of what some call synchronicity, a phenomenon where inner and outer worlds converge in a meaningful pattern. The unconscious mind and the universe conspire to create these alignments, signaling that the energies between you and the person in question are still in motion. It is as if the cosmos itself conspires to remind you that separation is never absolute, and that the bonds which once connected you continue to resonate invisibly across time. Circumstance synchronicity manifests not only in external events, but also the convergence of internal experiences. You may notice that your thoughts, emotions, and dreams begin to mirror situations involving this person, that ideas emerge with uncanny timing, or that decisions seem guided by invisible hands. These moments are more than coincidence. They are the psyche's way of bringing unconscious recognition into conscious awareness. The symbols that appear are invitations to pay attention, to decode the messages that lie places in our path, and to act not merely with logic but with intuition and inner knowing. Each sign is a marker, a guiding light, pointing toward reunion, resolution, or deeper understanding. Often these symbolic experiences appear when the psyche senses readiness or a threshold of growth has been reached. A symbol may appear repeatedly until the individual recognizes it, suggesting that the timing of reconnection is tied not only to external circumstances but also to inner preparation. This is why the universe may seem to orchestrate events with perfect subtlety, providing guidance while respecting free will. A number appearing at meaningful moments, a recurring image in media, or the sudden remembrance of a phrase from long ago, all are gentle reminders that unseen forces are at work, nudging both parties toward awareness and alignment without forcing outcome. Symbols also act as mirrors, reflecting aspects of ourselves that remain unresolved. A repeated sign or pattern often carries dual significance. It points toward the other person while simultaneously revealing what we must attend to within our own psyche. The universe, in its wisdom, does not simply arrange for external reunion but ensures that internal reconciliation accompanies it. The synchronicities and signs are thus invitations for reflection, asking us to recognize patterns in our thoughts, feelings, and actions that may have contributed to separation or misunderstanding. There are opportunities to see where projection, attachment, or unhealed wounds have shaped interactions, and to approach the return of this person with clarity, insight, and emotional maturity. When these symbols appear, they often carry a sense of timing and rhythm. The universe communicates in cycles, and synchronicity can emerge in ways that feel almost orchestrated, yet subtle enough that one must attune to the quiet currents of life to perceive them. A chance encounter may occur at a moment of reflection, a fleeting vision may coincide with an emotional shift, or a pattern may repeat until recognition is inevitable. The mind may initially dismiss these moments as coincidence, yet the deeper self perceives the significance, feeling the invisible thread that connects events, emotions, and intention. The symbols become a language, speaking to a part of you that knows what is real, what matters, and what has yet to be integrated. There is also a profound interplay between consciousness and the unconscious in the recognition of these signs. While the conscious mind searches for logic and causality, the unconscious detects meaning in pattern, resonance, and emotional significance. Symbols often appear as dreams, fleeting images, or intuitive insight, and they communicate truths that the rational mind may overlook. When a person from your past is being drawn back into your life, the universe employs this language to signal alignment and guide perception. Dreams of shared spaces, repeated motifs in daily life, or sudden awareness of synchronicities all function as invitations to engage with the unfolding of life consciously, to notice the hidden connection that sustain relationships beyond superficial appearances. Symbols can also create a sense of anticipation and awareness, preparing the mind and heart for the eventual return of this person. These recurring signs act as gentle reminders that the universe is attentive, that the energies of connection are still in motion, and that what appears to be distance may actually be a temporary unfolding within a larger pattern. The more one attunes to these symbols, the more one develops an ability to recognize the guidance inherent in life's orchestration, to distinguish meaningful signals from the noise of ordinary events, and to trust that there is a deeper wisdom at play in the interactions and experiences that surround us. Furthermore, the interplay of synchronicity and symbols encourages patience and mindfulness. The universe rarely moves in abrupt, obvious ways. It nudges, suggests, and synchronizes events until they reach a moment of resonance. By paying attention to recurring signs, patterns, and coincidences, you cultivate a sense of awareness that aligns the inner self with the outer unfolding. This attentiveness allows you to perceive the subtle currents that guide reconnection, to recognize when opportunity for interaction, communication, or reconciliation are emerging, and to act from a place of conscious choice rather than impulsive reaction. The significance of symbols is not limited to the individual alone. They reflect a universal principle that life is interconnected, that events and people are rarely isolated in their impact. Each recurring sign is part of a larger web of meaning, a point of intersection where personal history, unconscious desire, and universal intelligence converge. The reappearance of someone in your life, whether through memory, circumstance, or direct encounter, is accompanied by these symbolic echoes that suggest the world itself is participating in the return, orchestrating circumstance so that awareness, readiness, and connection may align naturally. Ultimately, synchronicity and symbols serve as a bridge between the seen and unseen, the known and unknown, the conscious and unconscious realms. They are reminders that life is imbued with purpose and that the threads which connect individuals are never truly severed. By observing these signs, reflecting upon their meaning, and attuning to the underlying patterns, one participates in the conscious unfolding of destiny, preparing the psyche and the heart for the return of someone whose presence is meant to resonate once more in life. Inner transformation is the quiet work of the soul, the gradual reshaping of consciousness that prepares one to receive what life intends without resistance. When a person from your past is returning, even if they have not reached out, it is often your own growth, evolution, and readiness that allow this reconnection to take place. Transformation begins in subtle ways: a shift in perspective, the release of old judgments, the recognition of patterns that once bound you to reactive behavior. These changes do not happen by accident, nor do they follow a linear path. Rather, they emerge through a series of experiences, reflections, and inner reckonings that awaken a deeper sense of self and purpose. The psyche, in its wisdom, orchestrates these shifts so that the heart may approach reunion not with neediness or attachment, but with clarity, presence, and the capacity for authentic engagement. Personal growth often mirrors the journey of the person whose presence you feel returning. The unconscious mind recognizes a resonance between your evolution and theirs, even across distance or time. As you heal old wounds, release fears, and cultivate understanding, the energy between you and them is subtly recalibrated. This inner transformation is a silent signal to the universe, indicating that the soul is prepared to encounter the other with awareness, compassion, and maturity. Every emotional breakthrough, every insight gained from self-reflection, every act of letting go contributes to this alignment, creating fertile ground for reconnection that is not merely circumstantial, but deeply meaningful and sustaining. Transformation is also reflected in the way you perceive past events. What once seemed painful, unjust, or incomprehensible begins to reveal a pattern, a hidden purpose, or a lesson that had eluded consciousness. Memories that once caused suffering now carry wisdom, inviting recognition of the interconnectedness of all experience. The return of a person, then, is less about rekindling the past exactly as it was, and more about the meeting of evolved selves, each carrying the knowledge, resilience, and insight that comes from navigating life's complexities. The inner work you undertake, acknowledging shadows, cultivating empathy, and embracing change, becomes a prerequisite for authentic reunion, for the psyche only draws toward what resonates with the entirety of its development. Often, this transformation involves confronting the shadow self, the hidden or denied aspects of personality that influence behavior in subtle ways. When someone is returning into your life, even silently through memory or synchronicity, the psyche may present challenges, discomforts, or old emotional triggers as opportunities to integrate these shadow aspects. Anger, resentment, jealousy, or unacknowledged desire may surface not to punish, but to illuminate areas of incompletion that require awareness. By facing these internal dynamics with honesty and courage, the individual creates a psychic space that allows connection to occur from wholeness rather than projection, ensuring that the return is based on understanding rather than repetition of past mistakes. Another aspect of inner transformation is the cultivation of patience and trust. The universe, operating according to its own rhythm, often requires that readiness precede reunion. Inner work teaches the individual to release control, to allow events to unfold according to timing beyond conscious manipulation. This patience is not passive resignation, but an active engagement with growth, reflection, and self-awareness. By trusting the unfolding process, one aligns with the invisible current that guide reconnection, understanding that the inner journey is inseparable from the external manifestation of events. Transformation also manifests through emotional refinement. As the psyche matures, the intensity of attachment softens into understanding. Possessiveness gives way to respect, and impulsive reactions are replaced with thoughtful responses. This shift in emotional intelligence enables the individual to approach relationship with a sense of equilibrium, recognizing the value of both autonomy and connection. The person whose presence is returning is met not by old patterns of need or expectation, but by a consciousness that can honor the complexities of human interaction, integrating desire with discernment and intimacy with space. Spiritual awareness often deepens in parallel with personal transformation. One begins to sense the interconnectedness of life, perceiving relationship as reflections of deeper archetypal forces and shared human experiences. The return of someone into consciousness or life is interpreted not merely as a personal event, but as a manifestation of universal patterns, a synchronicity that carries symbolic meaning and lesson. This expanded perspective fosters acceptance, compassion, and an understanding that the reunion, when it occurs, is part of a larger unfolding that transcends individual ego concerns, emphasizing alignment with the flow of life rather than the pursuit of control. The process of transformation may be catalyzed by challenges and solitude, experiences that force introspection and reflection. Times of difficulty, separation, or uncertainty provide the conditions in which inner growth occurs. In these moments, the individual confronts limitations, confronts fear, and discovers latent strengths that were previously dormant. These trials, when approached with awareness, become alchemical in nature, turning emotional need into the gold of insight, clarity, and resilience. The person whose return is being prepared encounters you not as you were, but as you have become, shaped and refined through the crucible of life's experiences. As inner transformation unfolds, intuition and subtle perception become sharpened. The individual becomes attuned to signals, symbols, and energies that indicate alignment and potential for reconnection. There is a growing awareness that life is orchestrated, that events carry significance beyond immediate comprehension, and that timing is governed by forces both personal and universal. This heightened perception allows one to navigate encounters with sensitivity, recognizing when moments are ripe for interaction and when stillness is required. Attuning to the rhythm of reunion without forcing it, transformation also encourages the development of self-love and acceptance, recognizing one's own value, acknowledging strengths and weaknesses, and cultivating a balanced relationship with the self allows for more authentic connections with others. The psyche draws toward what mirrors this self-recognition, and the returning present is met with a consciousness capable of embracing both joy and imperfection. This acceptance extends to the other, fostering empathy and understanding that enable connection to be grounded in authenticity rather than projection or dependency. Ultimately, inner transformation is an ongoing, dynamic process that encompasses self-awareness, emotional refinement, shadow integration, spiritual insight, patience, and intuition. It is a preparation not only for the potential return of someone significant, but also for the continued evolution of consciousness itself. The work of transformation ensures that reconnection, when it occurs, is a meeting of evolved selves harmonized by the unseen currents of life and guided by the wisdom of the psyche, allowing for engagement that is profound, meaningful, and resonant quiet knowing is the subtle awareness that something is unfolding beyond the grasp of reason, a sense of inevitability that courses through the soul when a person from the past is being drawn back into one's life even if they have not reached out. This knowing is not the result of conscious calculation, nor is it born from wishful thinking. It arises from the deeper layers of the psyche, where intuition, archetypal patterns, and universal intelligence converge. It manifests as an inner certainty, a resonance that whispers in moments of stillness, in the gentle attention given to life's currents, and in the recognition of coincidences that are too meaningful to be dismissed. It is a sense that connection, though unseen, is orchestrated, that the unseen threads of fate continue to weave lives together, and that the forces of the universe are quietly aligning energy in preparation for eventual reunion. This quiet knowing often emerges in moments of reflection, where the mind is calm and receptive, and when one is attuned to the subtleties of inner experience. It may appear as a fleeting thought, a sudden clarity, or an inexplicable feeling that communicates more than words can capture. It is a perception that transcends temporal limitations, sensing patterns and currents that the rational mind cannot yet apprehend. The soul recognizes its own longing and mirrors it back to the world, detecting alignment in places, events, and encounters that would otherwise seem ordinary. In this sense, quiet knowing is the voice of the unconscious, guiding attention toward what is emerging, signaling that the invisible architecture of life is orchestrating a return that is beyond mere human effort or control. This knowing is often accompanied by a sense of peace and trust, a subtle confidence that unfolds even in the midst of uncertainty. It does not demand immediate resolution or action, nor does it cling to specific outcomes. Instead, it acknowledges the unfolding of life as a process, understanding that timing is governed by forces beyond the conscious mind. This awareness is born of experience, reflection, and the gradual recognition that events often align according to an unseen logic that is perceptible only when one attunes to it. The quiet knowing is therefore both a guide and a reassurance, offering a sense of orientation amidst the unpredictability of life and relationships. Intuition is central to this process. The quiet knowing is often experienced as a gut feeling, an inner sense, recognition, or a perception that surpasses reason and linear thought. The psyche, operating in conjunction with the universal patterns of connection, signals through these intuitive insights, preparing the individual to recognize and respond to the return of someone significant. These intuitive cues may appear as dreams, premonitions, or sudden mental clarity, and they often carry a weight of certainty that defies explanation. The more one cultivates awareness of these subtle signals, the more attuned one becomes to the rhythms of life and the invisible force that govern the interplay of relationships and destiny. This inner knowing is also deeply connected to the concept of timing. It recognizes that the universe does not operate according to the urgency of desire, but according to an intrinsic order that ensures events unfold in alignment with growth, readiness, and opportunity. Moments of connection emerge when the conditions are ripe, when consciousness is prepared, and when the inner and outer worlds resonate harmoniously. The quiet knowing carries an understanding of this rhythm, allowing one to release attachment to immediate outcomes while maintaining awareness of the subtle currents that guide interactions and relationships. Quiet knowing also engages with the shadow, the hidden or unconscious aspects of the self. It brings awareness to fears, insecurities, or unresolved emotions that may arise when a significant person is returning into consciousness or life. These aspects are not obstacles but teachers, revealing areas in which growth, acceptance, and integration are necessary. By acknowledging and embracing the shadow, the individual strengthens their capacity to meet the other with presence, empathy, and authenticity. The quiet knowing functions as a compass, guiding attention to the inner work required to allow reunion to occur in a conscious and harmonious manner. The presence of quiet knowing is often accompanied by symbolic experiences, moments in which the universe communicates through subtle signs that affirm the unfolding of destiny. A passing encounter, a recurring image, a phrase heard at the right moment, or an emotion resonance triggered by memory can all serve as confirmations of the inner awareness. These synchronistic events reinforce the sense of alignment, demonstrating that the threads of life are interwoven and that connection is being facilitated even without deliberate action on either side. Quiet knowing, therefore, is not passive. It is a perceptive engagement with the signals and patterns that guide consciousness toward meaningful reunion. The cultivation of stillness and attentiveness enhances this awareness, In moments of quiet reflection, meditation, or contemplation, the individual becomes receptive to the subtle messages of the unconscious and the universe. It is in these spaces that the quiet knowing emerges most clearly, free from distraction, desire, or analytical interference. By cultivating this capacity, one develops the ability to perceive the invisible architecture of life, to recognize alignment even when circumstances appear chaotic or disconnected, and to trust that the universe orchestrates connections in ways that honor both growth and timing. Quiet knowing also fosters a sense of detachment that is essential for meaningful reconnection. It allows one to release control, expectations, and anxiety while maintaining a receptive openness to what is emerging. This balance between awareness and non-attachment is a hallmark of maturity, enabling the individual to participate in the unfolding of events without interference or resistance. In this way, the quiet knowing acts as both a guide and a stabilizing force, helping the psyche navigate uncertainty. With grace and confidence, the experience of quiet knowing is deeply transformative. It reshapes perception, encouraging a recognition of the interconnectedness of life, the persistence of relational energies, and the subtle interplay of fate and free will. It cultivates patience, deepens intuition, and encourages engagement with life in a way that is conscious, aware, and attuned to the larger patterns at work. The person who senses the return of someone significant does so not merely through desire, memory, or longing, but through an inner attunement that perceives the invisible movements of life, signaling alignment, timing, and the potential for meaningful reunion. Ultimately, quiet knowing is a manifestation of the deeper intelligence of the psyche and the universe, a recognition that life operates through patterns, symbols, and energies that extend beyond immediate perception. It allows one to trust in the unseen forces that guide relationships, to navigate anticipation without anxiety, and to approach reconnection with clarity, presence, and an openness to the unfolding of destiny. It is the voice of the inner self, the resonance of the unconscious, and the subtle guidance of the universe, all converging to indicate that the threads of life are realigning, that connection is possible, and that the unfolding of events is in harmony with growth, readiness, and awareness.